Hello everyone. In this lesson we're going to learn how to let a user upload a file. Let's jump right into the action. So, over the next few lessons we're going to set up the ability for a user to change their avatar or, upload an image to be used as their profile photo. Let me show you what I have in mind. So if you visit your profile, essentially if you're viewing a profile and it's your own profile instead of someone else's profile, maybe right about here I want to have a gray button that says Manage Your Avatar. Right? And then if you click it, it takes you to a form where you can upload a photograph. So before we actually set up that form and learn how to let a user upload a file, let's first just add that conditional button or link right about here. So in VS Code, go ahead and press Control or Command P and look for your profile posts.blade.php file. Up towards the top, we see this form, and right before the closing form tag, so right about here, this is where we could have that gray link that says Manage Your Avatar. So I would just have a directive @if, and the condition would just be call auth, call the user function, and look inside that. If the username of the current logged in user, $, if that equals the username of the current profile URL. So just, $username. We'll have something in the middle, but then below that we would end the if directive. Now, in the middle, what we would actually want is just an A element. And in the sandwich, let's say manage avatar. And for the href value, it would just be, /manage avatar. We can set up a route for this in just a moment. For CSS reasons, let's give the A element a class of btn for button, and then button secondary, and then button small, or SM. Cool. If we save this, and I refresh, beautiful. I'm viewing my own profile, so I do indeed see the button. However, if I visited, the Barks a Lot profile while I'm logged in as Brad, perfect. I do not see that icon. Cool. Now let's just make this icon come to life. So let's go set up the route, so if you click on it, we actually have a route for /manage avatar. So here's what I would do. Jump into your web.php routes file, and maybe in this user related routes, that's where we could have the manage avatar. So I would just say route : get request, A, B, the route pattern or the URL pattern, let's just say /manage avatar. And then for the B placeholder, just, an array, so square brackets, user, controller, : class, comma, and let's name this just show avatar form. Let's give that a save. Now let's go create this method in our user controller. So open up your user controller, and I'll just create a brand new public function and name it show avatar form, parentheses, curly brackets. And we would just return a blade view. Now we haven't created a new view yet, but let's just name it maybe avatar-form. Okay, let's give that a save. And now let's go into our resources folder and then our views folder and just right click on views. Let's make a brand new file, name it avatar-form.blade.php. In this file, let's start with an x-layout sandwich. We know that will give us our global header and footer. Cool. In the middle, let's have a div, and let's give it a class of container, and container -- so 2 dashes, narrow, and py-md-5. So this has nothing to do with Laravel. This is just CSS or Bootstrap class names. Cool. Inside that div, let's have a heading level 2. So I just type the name of the tag and then hit tab on my keyboard. Cool. Let's say upload a new avatar, and let's give that a few classes. So say text center and margin bottom 3. Below that, let's have a form. Let's have the URL or the action be /manage avatar, and let's have the method equal post. In the form, let's go ahead and get things started with a CSRF token. Cool. In the form, let's have an input where you select a file, and then below that a button that you click to submit the form. So I would just have, say div. Actually, to add a div with a class, you can say div dot MB-3. If you hit tab, it's going to automatically give it that class. Cool. In the div, let's have an input. Instead of type text, let's say type equals file. So when you click on it, your web browser will ask you, hey, which file do you want to upload? We do need to give it a name. So this is the sort of variable name that we can access its value from the server side. So let's name it maybe just avatar. And let's say that this field is required just for a bit of client-side validation. For server-side validation, we can make sure that the server will send back an error if you don't provide a file. So we can say, @error, just like we do in all of our typical HTML forms. And the field name would be for avatar. We can end the error section. In between the middle, we could just have a paragraph with a class of alert. And let's also give it a class of small and alert-danger and shadow-sm. In the middle of the P sandwich, we would just say double curly brackets, $message. Cool, and then below the div, but still in the form, we would just have a button that you click on to submit the form. So let's just say save, and for CSS, let's give this a class of button and button-primary. Now, you might be wondering why I had us type all of this out instead of just copy and paste it. Well, you'll see in just a moment. If we go ahead and save this, and then if you refresh, right, you try to actually visit /manage avatar. Well, because we're not just sending over text input values, we're actually going to try to submit a file that you choose. I want to show you something. I mean, I guess we could have just copied and pasted this, but I feel like it's more hands-on this way. So on the opening form tag, if you're going to be sending over an actual attached file instead of just simple text values, you absolutely, on your opening form tag, you need to say enc type, so encoding type, enc type equals, quotes, multipart /form-data. Without this, Laravel is not going to notice or see that you've attached a file to your request. You must include this. Cool. At this point, you can go ahead and save this file. And now we just need to go set up a post request route for this same URL. So in other words, if you go back into your router, you can just duplicate this line, right? We set up a GET request for manage avatar. So just duplicate that line. Now we would want a post request for manage avatar. Let's change the controller method that's going to get called. So instead of show avatar form, let's say maybe just store avatar. Cool. Let's go ahead and save that. Go back into user controller. We would create a new public function store avatar, parentheses, curly brackets. And for now, let's just return a string of text that says, hey. Let's give that a save and test it out. So if I submit this form, well, you can't leave it empty because we added that required field. But if you click on it and then you choose a file on your computer and click save, cool, we see the word hey. Now that didn't actually upload a file though. So the idea is now instead of just returning the word of hey, we want to look at the incoming request and we have that field that we named avatar. We want to actually save that onto our server's hard drive. So let me show you what we can do. In these parentheses, we would just say uppercase request and then make up a variable name of lowercase request. Okay, and now in the body of this function, we can look inside the request for the method called file. And then in these parentheses, we named that input avatar. Right, back in our Blade template, on the actual input where you select the file, we gave it a name of avatar. So whatever our name value here, we're accessing that file. Then we're going to look inside that and call a method of store. Be sure to end that with a semicolon. Now, in these parentheses, for an argument, we get to say where, like which folder directory do we want to save that file to. Let me explain how this works. So for example, I have this Laravel project. If you actually look for it on your computer's hard drive, I have Laravel projects on my desktop, and then this is the folder I've been building in, our main app. Cool. So in VS Code, right, in the sidebar, these are all of your different files and folders. What I want to draw your attention to is this folder named storage. If you dig into the storage folder, you're going to see that there's different folders. We're interested in the app folder. So dig into the app folder. Cool, and now we see a public folder. We can talk about what this public folder is in just a moment, but for now, let's take it one step at a time. Back in VS Code, in the parentheses for store, let's just make up a folder name of, test123. Go ahead and hit save, and now I want you to submit the form. So go back, actually choose a file. So I chose my brad.jpg, click save. Okay, and now check this out. Back in that app folder, in addition to public, now we see that brand new test123, and if you look inside it, there is the file that I just uploaded through the browser. Cool, I'm actually going to delete test123. Now the idea is that you can provide a path, like you can dig multiple folders deep. So we just saw if you were happy to store a folder into, storage, app, and then just in here, well, that's how you can provide a name. What if you wanted to store a subfolder in the public folder? You can just do this. We could say quotes public / and then you could make up a folder name. So let's make it avatars. There's nothing special about this name. I'm just making it up. But if I save that and if I resubmit the form with my brad.jpg, now if you go into the public folder and there's our brand new avatars folder, there's the file. Beautiful. There's just one problem. This folder structure, or this directory that we're in, right? Storage, and then app, and then public. This is not actually available publicly by default. Let me explain what I mean. So back in the root of your Laravel project, instead of the storage folder, notice that there is an actual top-level folder named public. Now, anything in this folder, this top-level public folder, that actually is publicly available through your URL and routing system, right, in the address bar. Right, so that's how we can access things like our main.css file, right, because it lives in that base level, top level public folder. So the idea is we wouldn't want to let visitors of our website just upload directly into the public folder. For Git and version control purposes, we want the base level, top level, if you look back in VS Code, this top level public folder, we want to be in control of this directory. Right, so that we can know that all the files in here are safe, they're good, we placed them there. However, we do want visitors on the web to be able to access those avatar files that we just uploaded into storage, app, public, and then we made up an avatars folder. So check this out. And this works regardless of whether you're on Linux, Windows, or Mac. Here's what we can do. And to actually show you how this works right now, if you dig into your top level public folder, let's just stay right here. Cool. Now in your command line, let's run a command and you can type this with me. Type php artisan storage : link. So just like this, if you need to pause the video, type this out, php artisan storage : link. If we press enter, and then you go back into that top level public folder, awesome. We see there's this link. It's not an actual folder, it's like a shortcut or an alias, a symbolic link. Now yes, its name here is storage, but it's not actually pointing directly towards our storage folder. Where it's pointing is if you go into storage, and then you go into app, and then you go into public, this public folder. I know that's super confusing. When I first learned Laravel, this confused me for a good day or two. So the way this works, if you go back into public, and you see, the word storage here, that's just there for URL purposes. So check this out. If you go into your address bar, now you could type, /storage, because that's what this link is named. But where it's actually looking is not storage here. It's looking inside storage, app, public. In other words, check this out. We could say /storage / and then we named our folder avatars / and then it got a randomly generated file name. But if I take that file name and paste it at the end of this URL, right? So /storage / avatars, the actual file name, I can press enter and there you have it. Beautiful. So this is the type of URL we could actually use as a user's avatar. Now, at this point, let's take care of a detail that we probably should have taken care of in the first 2 minutes of this lesson, because you might be really frustrated right now and screaming at the screen. Because if you chose a file to upload, as an example, that's larger than 2 megabytes, it's not going to work. So let me show you an error that you might be running into. This upload worked for me because the file that I uploaded was a very small file size. But if I tried to submit the form and this JPEG of a dog is almost 5 megabytes. If I tried to submit that, click save, it crashes, it does not work. So if you are running into this type of error, let me show you right now how we can fix this. It actually has nothing to do with Laravel, and it has everything to do with the way that PHP is set up on our local computer. So we need to edit our php.ini file. Now that process is different if you're on Windows or Mac. So remember, if you're on Windows, way back at the very beginning of the course, you installed PHP into your C drive, your program files, and then a PHP folder. In that folder, there's a file named php.ini. Right? And remember, we learned how to edit that file and enable a few extensions. So you just need to edit that file, open that file up once again in VS Code. If you need to go back to that lesson and revisit how to open up that file, that's okay. You can pause this lesson, maybe in a new tab, open up the beginning part of the course. So that's if you're on Windows, get your php.ini file opened up. If you're on Mac, let me show you what I would do. So first of all, on Mac, I want to be able to open up a file through the command line into VS Code. Now, in order to do that, this is actually enabled by default on Windows, but on Mac, you need to add VS Code to your system path. If you hold Command-Shift-P, that'll open up your command palette in VS Code, and now just type the word install path, and you'll see this command, shell command install code command in path. Press enter and give it permission. Cool. So once you've added that, now in your command line, or in a terminal, you can access the code command like this for VS Code. So here's what we want to do. Code, and then we installed PHP through Homebrew. So to find our php.ini file, it would just be /opt/homebrew/etc/php. And then at the time of this video, I'm using PHP version 8.1. You could always just cd into this directory and see what the name of the folder is, but /8.1/ and the file name finally is php.ini. So run that, it's going to open it up in VS Code. And now this is the same for if you're on Windows or Mac. In your php.ini file, we just need to press Control F or Command F and search for something called upload max file size. You can see by default, it's set to just 2 megabytes. So just bump this up to maybe 8 or 10. I'll just put it to 8 megabytes for now. But if you save that, now before that actually takes effect and before it would actually work back in your application, you do need to restart your Laravel server. So for example, in this command line, I'm going to press Control C, right? So wherever you were running the PHP artisan serve command, you need to restart that process. So I'm going to stop it, start it up again. And now if I go to my form, even if I choose that JPEG that's almost 5 megabytes, right? As long as it's under 8 megabytes, I can choose that. I can click save. Awesome. We see, hey, and there it is. If you find that file, on your actual hard drive, you could take the file name and you could visit, /storage/avatars/ paste in the file name. There you have it. Now, where do we go from here? Well, this file is huge. It's giant. And we wouldn't actually want to store that on our server's hard drive. We would want to automatically resize it on the server side so that it's maybe only, 200 pixels. So that's exactly what we're going to learn how to do in our next lesson, how to resize an image on the server. Let's keep things rolling, and I'll see you then.